Imagine this.
It's 1914. War is declared. Your country needs defending, and you are the person who is going to defend it. You enlist, you train, and you say your goodbyes. As you prepare to fight, you decide to write a poem. But what is that poem going to be like? Let's find out.
Hey Revision Squad, it's me, Liam, aka Mr. Knight, aka DystopiaJunkie. So if you've clicked on this video, it's because you're after some poetry analysis. Awesome. In this video, we're going to look at Rupert Brooke's poem, The Soldier. You can find it on page 7 of the WJEC Eduqas poetry anthology. Before we get started, I'm going to say what I usually say at the start of these videos. Make sure you've got at least 3 highlighters, a pen, and some extra paper, just in case you run out of space. This video will follow the same structure as the others in this series. If this is the first video of mine that you're seeing, then please do follow the link in the top right corner of the screen around now. It will take you to my entire WJEC Eduqas Poetry Anthology playlist, which will eventually cover the entire anthology. So in this video I will read the poem, go through its context, provide a close reading of the poem, consider its meaning, mood and the poet's motivation. I'll think about themes, and finally at the end, because I'm really lovely like that, there will be an optional revision task. To make sure that you don't miss out on a single one of these poetry analysis videos, please make sure that you drop it a like, subscribe to my channel, DystopiaJunkie, and click the notification bell too. Please do tell your friends and classmates about these videos, because if they're helping you, they might also help them. Now that I've done that cringy YouTuber self-promotion stuff, we can read the poem. The Soldier. If I should die, think only this of me, that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore, shaped, made aware, gave once her flowers to love, her ways to roam, a body of England's, breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home. And think, this heart, all evil shed away, a pulse in the eternal mind, no less gives somewhere back the thoughts by England given, her sights and sounds, dreams happy as her day, and laughter learnt of friends, and gentleness in hearts at peace under an English heaven. So there we go, that is the poem. And now for some context. It's essential that you make some notes about this, as context and your ability to relate relevant context to your analysis is equal to 1/3 of the marks on both poetry questions. So when World War I broke out in 1914, Brooke enlisted to fight. He was 27 years old and he was very much a man at that point, not a boy or a teenager, and that's an important thing to consider if you're choosing to compare this poem to a particular other poem in the anthology. Brooke had received a very high level of education, having studied at the University of Cambridge. He was very, very popular at university and was very well connected in the university's literary circles. He was friends with many of the famous Bloomsbury group, including Virginia Woolf and E.M. Forster, although Some people valued him for his writerly talents, and others valued him for his good looks. Before World War I started, Brooke travelled widely. That included going to the US and Canada to write travel diaries for the Westminster Gazette, which was a London-based newspaper. Whilst he was away, he did suffer some homesickness, which perhaps shows a strong connection with England. After he had enlisted, but importantly, before he had fought, Brooke wrote a sequence of sonnets that were collectively entitled 1914. The Soldier was the fifth and final sonnet in this collection. It's worth knowing at this point that although he was well connected and had done some journalistic work, Brooke was far from a famous writer. But that was soon to change. The Times Literary Supplement published The Soldier and the fourth sonnet in the collection called The Dead in March 1915. The Soldier was also read at St Paul's Cathedral on Easter Sunday of that year, on April 4th. It was in these months that Brooke became a literary celebrity, as his poems caught the spirit of the times, and that was a spirit of hopefulness, because Britain was yet to feel the impact of war. Brooke died in April 1915, which was before he had fought in battle. He was bitten by a mosquito and developed sepsis. Aside from being a bit ironic, it's also worth knowing this, as the fact that he had never fought in World War I can inform our reading of this poem. Brooke was buried in Skyros, Greece, as this was where the ship was moored at the time. Now, Brooke's poetry collection, 1914 and Other Poems, which included his 5-long sonnet sequence that ended with The Soldier, was published a month after he died. Its popularity was enormous. It was on its 24th print run by 1918. Now, this popularity was undoubtedly in some way down to his celebrity status and the fact that he was dead. Before we get started annotating the poem, this is your reminder to get 3 highlighters and to set up your own key. You'll need 1 colour for imagery, 1 for language, and 1 for structure. As with every other poem in the anthology so far, I think it would be useful for you to have something ready to say about the title of this poem. Remember, you will be given the titles of all of the anthology poems in your exam, and so that also means that you're going to be given a quotation for each poem. And so there's my question. It's encouraging you to look at the use of the definite article, the, in the title. So pause now if you would like to make your own annotations. Alright, so the use of the definite article the is suggesting that this soldier is important or significant. It could also suggest that this soldier is a generic everyman or every soldier who is representing all soldiers, especially as there are no other specific details in this title. Right, so here are the first 4 lines of the poem. These lines are very rich, especially from a linguistic viewpoint, meaning we can say an awful lot about them. For these lines, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I'd like us to think about. As you can see, 4 of the questions are related to the poem's language, and 1 is about its imagery. Pause now if you would like to try your own annotations before seeing mine. Okay, so starting with the top line of the poem, we have the imperative, which is another way of saying command. And that imperative is, think only this of me. Here, the poet's persona is perhaps alluding to the last wishes of the dead, something that they would have wanted to have been carried out. In doing this, they are shaping the reader's opinion of them, as the reader feels forced to think or feel about them in a particular way. By using the determiners some and a, the persona has created a vague-sounding second line. It's almost as if they don't care about this location. It's not a particular corner, just some corner. And it's not even of a particularly special field, but just a foreign field. It is one of many. It is unremarkable. I'd argue that this shows that the persona does not particularly care about this space, perhaps because it is part of a foreign field, and so it is not naturally English, which, we'll see throughout this poem, is believed to be the superior nationality. A more sympathetic interpretation of this could be that the soldier feels daunted by the task ahead of them. They know that they will be fighting across many fields and lands and countries, and that death could pounce on them at any moment. This interpretation could help to show the chaos and uncertainty of war. Okay, so the word imperialistic relates to imperialism, which is the belief that you can extend a country's power through military force and colonization. By saying that the plot of land will be forever England, simply because the soldier is buried there, is imperialistic, as it is saying that they will be taking it over. British imperialism, it's worth knowing, created tension between Britain and Germany, and may have been a contributing factor in the start of World War I. The persona describes the foreign soil as being rich, but says that their remains are richer and are therefore better. By using the comparative adjective in this positive way, the persona is asserting that being English is better than being not English, showing nationalistic pride. The image of richer dust is euphemistic, meaning it's a euphemism. The persona is speaking metaphorically in order to cover up something more blunt and less delicate. The idea that it is possible that they will die out there. Now, you could argue that this euphemism suggests that the persona may not be totally ready to accept that they may die, despite what the rest of the poem suggests. Dust also makes their death seem insignificant, so perhaps they are downplaying it in order to soften the emotional impact on the reader. And for the second half of the octet, there are 1, 2, 3 things that I think are worth considering. We have one thing that is image-based, whereas the other two are focused more on the poem's structure. Now, my annotations will appear on screen in a moment, and so therefore now is a good time to pause if you'd like to explore these questions on your own first. England has been personified in the second half of the octet and has been gendered as female, as shown by the feminine pronouns. Specifically, England has been compared to a mother, as it bore, meaning gave birth to, shaped, meaning raised, and made aware, meaning taught, the soldier. This personification not only highlights the persona's loyalty to England, but also highlights his desire to defend and protect her, as men would have been encouraged to enlist in order to protect the women left at home, including their mothers. The repetition of England or similar words like English across such a short linguistic space shows deep admiration and love for the country. It's almost obsessive, as if the persona cannot help themselves, which also therefore shows the extent of their devotion to their country. Having the noun home appear right at the end of the octet and going before the stanza break makes it stand out, as it hangs in the mind for longer than most of the other words in the poem. Home is referring to England and suggests that the persona feels very strongly about it and that he loves it. And here we have the poem's sestet. We'll think about the poem holistically in a moment, but before we do, I want to analyse these final 6 lines. And these final 6 lines have 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. You know the drill by now. Pause now if you want to annotate independently first. Those questions that were on screen a moment ago, yeah, you're not getting answers to them just yet. The reason why is that this is the end for part 1 of my analysis of The Soldier. Part 2 is coming pretty soon, so keep your eyes peeled, make sure that you're subscribed to my channel and turn on that notification bell too, so that you get alerted as soon as that video drops. As ever, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.